Welcome to Living Life, the show that allows you to pursue things that make you happy, curious, and keep you open-minded. This is Living Life on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network. Welcome to Living Life, Sweets, Treats, and Eats on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network. I'm Howie Morgasen. On today's show, we're going to visit our local Italian bistro. As you can see, we are set up here, and one of those delectable breads that they make in there is something called focaccia. And focaccia is a two-rise bread, which gives it that chewy yet crusty combination, which is just phenomenal. And we're going to do focaccia four ways. We're going to do a potato focaccia, we're going to do an onion focaccia, we're going to do a sweet dried fruit focaccia, and we're going to do a tomato basil focaccia. And then on the side, we're going to make a spinach arugula salad. Sounds like something that you could look forward to. If you want to check us out on social media, you can check us out at ETB Network. So let's make some focaccia. Okay, so now we're going to make the focaccia dough. And to do that, we've started with two doughs. We're using bread flour, and we're using what they call 00 flour, which is Italian flour that they use to make pizza dough and focaccia. And it's available in most of the grocery stores now, so you should be able to find it. If not, you can find it online. Amazon has it. That's where I get it. So we have the two flours in here, and we put in the yeast, and we put in the salt, and we mix that all together. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start up the mixer, and then we have warm water. It's about 100 degrees, and it's a little bit hotter than tepid, so it's a little bit hotter than you can put your finger into. So we're going to start drizzling the water into the flour, and the mixer is going to start mixing this together. And what's going to happen over time is that it's going to turn into a dough ball. And then once it turns into a dough ball, we're going to form it, and then we're going to proof it. So once it starts into a ball, then we're going to let it go for about 5 minutes, and we'll be ready to go. Okay, so you can see that it's forming into a ball, so I'm going to turn it off, and I'm going to take it from the bowl. First I'm going to take it off the hook. Now this dough is a little sticky, so don't be concerned if when you do it doesn't completely come into a ball. That's okay. So we're going to take that. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put a little flour on our board so it doesn't stick to it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the dough, and we're going to take it out of the bowl, and we're going to put it onto the mixing board. There we go. All right, there we go. And then make sure you put a little bit of flour on your fingers too, so you can handle the dough as it's coming together. A little bit more. And then what we want to do is we want to take the dough and we want to form it into a ball. So we keep tucking it under, maybe a little more flour, tucking it under till we get a nice looking ball. Okay, and then what we want to do is take a bowl, put a little olive oil in it, like that. Sort of mix the olive oil around a little bit. Okay, then we're going to take our ball, put it in the center, and then we're going to proof it. So we've created the dough for the focaccia, The next thing we have to do is proof. And proof is just the process where you give the dough a chance to rest so the yeast can act and it can start growing and bubbling. So proofing can be done simply by putting a towel over the bowl that we put the dough in, and then you can just put it in a dark, dry place for about an hour to an hour and a half. If you do a lot of baking, like I do, then this is called a proofing box, and it's relatively inexpensive, but it gives a solid temperature. For this I use 78 degrees, and what you do is you just open the top of the proofing box, and here is the bowl that has the dough that we just put in there. We close it up, set the timer for an hour, and then you get double the size, and we'll take a look at that. So it's been about 60 minutes since we started, so let's take a look at our dough. So we'll take the cover off our proofing box, and we'll grab our dough, and oh, look at that. It has actually doubled in size, which is great. So now what we're going to do is we're going to set it up for the second proof, and then we'll let that for about 30 minutes, and then we'll be all set to put the focaccia in the oven. Okay, so we have our dough that we took out of the proofing box, and what we're going to do is turn it over on our sheet tray there, and then we're going to just start spreading it out nice and easy. You know, you really don't want to break it at all, but you just want to move it around and fill to the corner, you know, to each of the corners of the tray. So you just keep working on it. It comes back just a little more. Eventually it will get into the corners. That's pretty close. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to wrap this with plastic wrap and cover it with a towel and just leave it out for another 30 minutes or so, and then we'll come back and add the toppings. Okay, so you can see our dough is back, and it grew a little bit more, not as much as the first proof, but it did grow a little bit. And now focaccia is known for the little dimples. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to push in on the dough, and as you can see, these little dimples are going to form. And we want to put in as many as we can, because as we put toppings on, they're going to go into the dimples. So there we go. That looks pretty good. So we're going to do two toppings on this. We're going to do a tomato basil first, with a little rosemary, and then we're going to do the sweet one with the dried fruit. So for the tomato basil, we have these little grape tomatoes, and we're just going to press them in different places, like so. So we start out with a few of those, and then we're going to take some basil leaves. We're going to tear them and sort of fold them up, and we're going to push them in as well. So we'll push that in over there, and we'll grab one more basil leaf here. We'll stuff that in over there, and one more over here, and then we'll grab some more grape tomatoes, and we'll push those in as well. And focaccia is like a blank canvas, so you really can use any type of toppings that you want, any types of vegetables. You can use cheese in it as well, and you can really use your creativity to come up with, you know, all kinds of interesting ideas for focaccia. So I think that'll be it for there. Now we're going to do the sweet one next, and the sweet one we're going to use dried fruits, and we have several different dried fruits that we're going to work with. We have some dried cherries, we have some apricots, we have some mango, and basically we cut it into small pieces, and we're just going to push them, you know, in the various holes in the focaccia. There's a little mango over there. Put some in here, down here. Some more. And I'm going to continue to work on this, and then I'm going to put it into a 400-degree oven for about 25 to 30 minutes. We'll check on it after 15. And then when it's all done, we will cut it up and we'll show you what it looks like. I just want to remind you, if you want to know more about Living Life, you can check out our social media page at Living Life ETB.
You're watching Living Life, Sweets, Treats, and Eats on the Empty the Bench podcast network. If you're looking for a new favorite podcast in the areas of sports, pop culture, or news and entertainment, you should check out some of the fresh voices and fresh perspectives on the Empty the Bench podcast network. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at ETB Network. Again, that's both on Facebook and Twitter at ETB Network. The Empty the Bench podcast network. We're more than just sports.
So at the bistro, they would make a salad at the table, like this one we're going to prepare here. So we're going to start out with arugula and spinach, and we just picked this up at the market. It's a common mix. We put it through the salad spinner and made sure it's very dry, so we start with that. And then we take some extra virgin olive oil and we pour that over the leaves that we have. And then what we do is we mix it a little to make sure that all the leaves get covered with the oil. Okay. Then we take fresh squeezed lemon juice and we pour that in. And then we're also going to take a little bit of salt. Maybe just a drop more. And then we take some freshly cracked pepper. And then we toss it again to make sure that all the leaves are covered. So then what we want to do is we want to put it on a nice platter so we can serve it. And what we'll do is we'll take our platter over here and we'll take our salad and we'll just put it like that. Okay, that looks nice. And then we have a chunk of Parmesan cheese and vegetable peeler. And we just want to take it, put some nice slices of Parmesan cheese over the top. And doesn't that look something that would be enjoyable for you to have at your corner bistro?
Hi, I'm Jerry Barmash. Join me for Here Now the News. It's an entertaining one-on-one interview featuring newsmakers and much more, whether it's political or pandemic related, someone from the media or an author. You'll find it here. A fun chat. And hopefully you'll learn something too. Recent guests have included Petri Hawkins-Byrd, the former Judge Judy bailiff, legendary game show host Bob Eubanks, and Matt Asner, son of famed actor Ed Asner. Subscribe and share. Don't miss Here Now the News as part of the Empty the Bench podcast network.
Here we are at our bistro, and look at all the great things that we have to share. So it was all about focaccia today. And if you remember anything from this podcast, the focaccia is a blank canvas, and that you should feel free to experiment with different types of toppings. So what we did today is we made 4 different types of focaccia, and we'll start over here. We have potato, very thinly sliced potato, and we made up an olive oil with rosemary and garlic. And we put that over the top, and that looks delicious. Over here, we have some caramelized onions and garlic, and we put those over the top, put some more olive oil, and we got this really fantastic tasting focaccia. And then these two, which I made with you today, the first one is a sweet focaccia. So we took dried fruit, and we put it in the focaccia. We add a little turbinado sugar over the top to give it a little extra sweetness. And then the last focaccia we made is the tomato and basil. and we put a little rosemary over the top to just give a little extra flavor. So you can see that you can do a lot of things with focaccia. We also put together this really nice arugula and spinach salad, a little Parmesan over the top for extra effect. And you can see we've added some additional things that you might want to put on the table so people can add to the salad. So we have some 3-bean salad, we have some olives, and we have some artichokes. So these are all recipes that are very easy to make. And the recipes will be available from our social network, which is at Living Life ETB. So check us out there and find out what else we're doing. And also the Empty the Bench Podcast Network, if you want to find out what else is going on there, you can check us out in social network there at ETB Network. So we're here and we're set, and you can get a nice bottle of wine to go with your dinner at your bistro, so feel free to do that. So I hope you enjoyed a little travel to the local bistro, and we put some really nice dishes together for you. I hope you will experiment with focaccia and see what you can come up with. We'll see you next time on Living Life, Sweets, Treats, and Eats.